Welcome into this week's RaiderPower Minute on RaiderPower.com. I'm Joshua Cook alongside Cameron Brock here, and we asked you to ask us some questions here on the forums, and of course this week is a bit of a shorter week, so we're doing this tonight as TCU takes on Texas Tech tomorrow. And Cameron, some of the questions from the fans. One is, the second half of that SFA game, we got to see a lot of different guys, got to see that second, third team offense play, and a guy named Quinn White decided, you know what, I'm going to come out and play my game, and I'm going to wow a few people. And a lot of questions on the boards were, are we going to see Quinn White play a lot more against TCU?
Well, let's remember, even if those were SFA starters, they would have been extremely tired, but it was actually the second, maybe even some of the third stringers. And so Quinn White looked really well. He is very shifty. He can run explosively, so there's a lot of potential there. And Coach Kingsbury said, yeah, he may have a shot to play this Thursday. Will he, though? Kenny Williams and DeAndre Washington are the starters, and they'll probably take most of the load.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Kenny Williams and DeAndre Washington, especially DeAndre Washington, he really started to kind of come out in that Stephen F. Austin game where he got kind of his legs back out under him a little bit more. Kenny Williams, I'm a little disappointed, and he hasn't really taken off the way I thought after rushing for over 800 yards last season. To answer the question, does Quinn White deserve to start? At this point, I'd say no. Does he deserve to be worked in at some point in the game? Yes, definitely. He's a guy that brings a new depth to running back position. Kenny Williams is that downhill power running back. DeAndre Washington and Quinn White, really kind of two same kind of running backs. They're real shifty, like to get around the defenders, but the key is offensive line and if they can break it to the outside. And so we'll see what Cliff Kingsbury decides to do with him. Of course, one of the other questions coming in this week with TCU was you got Casey Paul Hall. Well, you don't have to worry about Casey Paul Hall anymore. He broke his arm. He's out for a few weeks. We hope he comes back at some point. Good story with Casey Paul coming back from the drugs and his suspension from the team and coming back this season. Hate to see him go out that way. But Trayvon Boykin, a guy that we saw last year take on Texas Tech, and if you forgot that triple overtime thriller in Dallas, the Tech won 56-53. And one of the questions was, pretty much you got a game plan towards Boykin, but do you change the defensive game plan to allow maybe rush less and contain more, or so as not to flush him out of the pocket?
That's been a lot of the talk by the Tech coaches and the Monday press conference. Both coaches said that they would like to contain Boykin. Of course, you have to deal with B.J. Catalon too, and I believe Coach Kingsbury's real concern is Brandon Carter out at the wide receiver. He mentioned him during a rushing question. So Texas Tech has a lot of offensive weapons to worry about. The first thing to do for Texas Tech is stop B.J. Catalon. If you can take that weapon away, that's one less weapon to worry about. The second thing you have to do if you're Texas Tech is contain Boykin. You don't want him running all over the field. Jared Johnson, Casey Fajardo of Nevada, many players, Robert Griffin III, have run all over the Red Raider defense in the past few years. All those dual threat quarterbacks, you want to make sure you keep Boykin in the pocket. Make him pass.
That's a good point. And, Boykin, he was shut down on the running part of his game against Texas Tech last year. Had to pass for over 300 yards to keep TCU in that game. And I agree with Cameron. Boykin's one of those players. It's not only Trayvon Boykin you have to worry about. You got to worry about B.J. Catalon, who took a run back against LSU a few weeks ago. And also Brandon Carter at the wide receiver position, another guy you got to watch. There's a lot of weapons on this TCU team. But the thing about Boykin and his ability to not only throw the ball but run the ball, it takes a little bit of the attention away from the other stars on the team. But I think if you keep Boykin, make him pass, you got to really test the secondary Texas Tech. They really haven't been tested yet. And the thing is, you can't let Boykin break off a big run. Keep your eyes on him. Make sure you know where he's at on the field. But also at the same time, you cannot have a corner or a safety be more paying attention to him than, say, Brandon Carter, because all of a sudden Boykin's revving up to throw it and Brandon Carter is 15 yards down the field past you because you were watching Trayvon Boykin. So it's going to be a challenge for the Texas Tech defense, as Matt Wallerstadt said on Monday. The biggest challenge they're going to have maybe even all season long. Well, another question is, we've seen Baker Mayfield throw the ball. We've seen him run the ball. And the question is, do you think Tech can stretch out TCU's pass defense and really make them pay down the field?
I think they can. In fact, I think you're looking at Johnny Manziel 2.0, a true walk-on freshman. Mayfield has all the swagger that he needs, as Coach Kingsbury likes to say, but he has yet to face an off-field problem. In fact, he has only been on campus for 2 months, and he's now the starting quarterback over the Hurt Brewer and a huge prospect in Red Raider recruiting, Davis Webb. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and I don't expect him to go off the field anytime soon.
And when it comes to spreading out the TCU defense, you got to remember this fact: there's not one wide receiver or two wide receivers that TCU's got to pay attention to. There's quite a few. You got Eric Ward, Jace Marr, who we'll talk about here in a minute, Jakeem Grant, who really showed off some of his moves. If you didn't see the spin move, it's pretty much one of those video game moves that he got a few bonus points for in the post game part of that, and it just goes down the list. Jordan Davis, if he comes back healthy, and just on and on and on. And these wide receivers, and also you can take different running backs. They can run out and make catch passes too. So I think that's how you stretch them out. Is they've already stretched defenses out. That's what an air raid offense is meant to do. It's meant to stretch the defense out, get some one-on-one coverage down the field. Also, Bradley Marquez, who got his first big touchdown of the year, where he really he enjoyed watching himself in that big rear view mirror at Jones AT&T Stadium, which is the Jumbotron. So that's how you spread out TCU's defenses. Just you have so many weapons. Who are they going to cover? And also, last question. We talked about him a minute ago. He's a guy that we like watching play. He's probably going to be playing he will be playing on Sundays. There's no doubt about it. If you're his size, you play as well as he does at his position, he's going to be playing at Sundays. Jason Morrow. What does TCU do, or is there any way that TCU can combat his presence out on the field?
If TCU tries to combat Jason Morrow's presence, then a very good rush defense is going to leave open the running game. I do not see them covering Jason Morrow because they are that good of a running team, and they want to keep Kenny Williams and DeAndre Washington in the backfield. Very good rushing team. Now, the secondary, they may be able to hang with Ward, hang with a couple of the receivers, but Jason Morrow is that X factor for the TCU defense. If he gets past that front seven, watch out.
Jason Morrow's a fun player to watch. We've seen him run over a few players before. And if you forgot for some reason, Jason Morrow in the first half of the game against Stephen F. Austin, 8 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Some guys get that in a game. He got that in a half. So I think Baker Mayfield's liking that little toy he's got over the middle because, he's a big target. One, if you throw it right at him, he's going to catch. You got at least 5 yards. He's going to run over a few defenders, drag a few guys with him. He'll give you another 5 or 6 yards after the catch. And that's the biggest thing. After the catch, yards after catch are huge, especially when you're talking about the next level, the NFL. That's where Jason Morrow really stock is going up, is the yards after catch, because NFL scouts, they want to know, okay, can you catch the ball, number one? Okay, but then once you catch it, what can you do after the fact? And Jason Morrow's shown time and time again that he can take the ball and go down the field and run everybody over on the way to a touchdown. And I guess now final question. Cameron, your prediction for tomorrow night, Texas Tech versus TCU, first time in Lubbock in 9 years, the newly renovated Jones AT&T Stadium, Gary Patterson, coming in really in a must-win game for that team. 1-1, sit on the season, pick to win the Big 12. What's your prediction? Because Texas Tech was kind of that dark horse coming in and picked 7th in the Big 12 in the preseason, but now, hey, after this game, Tech could be 3-0. What is your prediction? Putting you on the spot for the score of the game.
Texas Tech pulls off the upset, 42-31. It's a very close game at halftime. I wouldn't be surprised if TCU has the lead. They're supposed to have the lead. They're ranked 21st in both the AP poll and the ESPN USA Today coaches poll. But Tech wins because after second half adjustments and a stout defense, and then next all the offensive weapons, ultimately they are too much, and Boykin will throw at least one interception.
Turnovers will be huge. My pick, I've been thinking about it all week long. Texas Tech wins this game 38-35 on a last-second field goal to win the game, and the crowd goes nuts at Jones AT&T Stadium. So Texas Tech and TCU, we've done enough talking. there's been enough riding during the week. Now it's time to put it out on the field and see what we got tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., Jones AT&T Stadium on the big four-letter network, ESPN, where Texas Tech and TCU take each other on. For Cameron Brock, I'm Josh Cook on RaiderPower.com with your Raider Power Minute for this week. Enjoy the game, everyone, and as Texas Tech takes on TCU, we'll see what the Horned Frogs have for young Red Raider Baker Mayfield.